Hi, my name's Will, and this is one of my 10-minute tutorials on locks. And for this episode, I'm just going to be going over a bit of the theory behind parenting and locking in Source Filmmaker. So I'm just going to be chucking in a few models here. Then I'm going to set them to their default location, which is the center of the map. Then I'm going to position them. I'm going to offset the soccer ball from the bomb. Then I'm going to offset the baseball from the soccer ball. The next thing I'm going to do is to parent the baseball to the soccer ball. So to do that, in Source Filmmaker, I'm just going to put that up there. So now we have the hierarchy: cannonball, soccer ball, baseball, in that order. So to lock something in Source Filmmaker, you're going to want to open up the controls here. So I want to lock the baseball to the soccer ball, so I come to the parent, which is the soccer ball. I click and grab that control and bring it down. I can either put it on weapon bone, or position or rotation. I'm going to choose position, so now wherever I move the soccer ball, the baseball is going to follow. Now on top of that, I want to talk about axes. If we take a look at our soccer ball, we can see that his blue arrow is pointing upwards. However, the baseball's blue arrow is pointing not upwards, sideways basically. And the reason for this is because the baseball's new axes are now local. So they are relative to the position of the soccer ball. See, if I grab him and rotate along there, then we take a look at the baseball. His blue axis is now pointing upwards. Same as the soccer ball's. That's because the soccer ball's parent is the world, so he's moving in world space. The baseball's axis is the soccer ball, so he depends on the position and rotation of the soccer ball. If we could rotate the world, then that would change the axis of the soccer ball, but we can't. So I'm just going to set that back. So if I was to right click here and click on global axis, we can now see that he's using the world's axis as the soccer ball is. However, with rotation, the rotation is still going to be in world space. That's because I didn't lock the rotation, only the position. So the next thing I'm going to do is to rotate this soccer ball so that the moon follows. So just come to the rotation here. I want to rotate it along the Z axis. So I'm just going to set that to 0. Press F. Down arrow key to go to the last frame. Chuck a keyframe in there, select it, and I'm going to set that to 720. Put those to linear. So now when I play that, you can see that the moon is revolving around the Earth. The next thing I'm going to do is to make the moon spin upon its own axis. And remember, I didn't lock the rotation. Now remember, I didn't lock the rotation, so he still has a normal global rotation. So if I was to go here, rotation mode, local, world, it's still the same. So I'm going to the last frame, chuck in a keyframe. I'll just set the first one to 0. Then I'll set the last one to 3600. Press F to focus, select, set them to linear. So now if we look at the moon, we can see it's rotating. The next thing I'm going to do is to parent the soccer ball to the bomb, or the Earth to the sun. So same method as before. Open up the controls, drag the bone control down to the soccer ball's position. Now wherever I move the bomb, both of them follow. That's because the moon is a child of the Earth, so he follows that, and the Earth is a child of the sun, so he's following that. So now I'm going to make the sun rotate. So come down to the position, and that's going to be the blue rotation. So I'm going to go to the last frame, chuck in a keyframe, set that to 3600. Now you can see our Earth is revolving around our Sun and our Moon is revolving around the Earth. So now let's take a look at the motion paths. If I go into the motion editor, select all time, with the Sun selected, you can only see a little green dot in the middle. That's the motion path. That's because the Sun is not moving, it's just rotating. But if I look at the soccer ball, our Earth, you can see his motion path, it's a circle. A perfect circle around the Sun. But then if I look at the baseball, you can see his motion path is completely different. That's because he's not only revolving around the Earth is also revolving around the Sun. So that makes quite a different path. Now I'm going to show you what would happen if you try to parent something to another object that was already animated. So I'm going to unlock this baseball. However, now it still has its motion path. That's because when you unlock something in Source Filmmaker, it still keeps the motion path, which is really handy and cool. So he's no longer parented, but he's still keeping the motion path that we set for him. But I don't want that. So I'm going to use the playhead preset, and now his motion path is right there. So now let's see what would happen if I was to parent him or to lock him to the Earth. Drag that down to position, and now he still stays in the same place. But if we look at the motion path, but now the reason why they're moving like this is because they're counteracting the movement of the Earth and the Sun to keep him in place. So we can get him moving again. Now remember, he is in local space compared to the Earth. So we want him to stay respectively in one spot relative to the Earth. So we get these curves and we drag the playhead. The reason why we drag playhead is because that will set all the curves to wherever this playhead is intersecting the curve. And I'm going to drag the playhead preset, and that's going to flatten out the curves, which means he's going to stay in one spot relative to the Earth. But he's following the Earth, but the Earth is moving, so he's going to stick to the Earth. And one last thing that I want to go over is after you unlock something. Okay, I'll get into a bit more detail with that. So now we have the baseball and his lines are straight. So I'm going to show you what happens when I unlock this in the motion editor. See, he's kept his motion because his axis is now the world. If I was to come in here, remember before, his axis on the local was his blue arrow pointing where the red is now, and now the global is exactly the same because his axis is the global axis. So if I was to come into the graph editor and I wanted to set some keyframes here, you notice that all the curves beforehand have now disappeared. To stop that, we can click the toggle offset mode here. Now when I click keyframes, it preserves all the curves before. So I can chuck some keyframes in here, and now our animation has changed. One last thing that I want to quickly show is animating when it's already parented. So here I have the Earth moving around, and I'm going to animate the y-axis, so it's going to wobble along its line a bit. So I'm just going to come to the 100th frame, and I'm going to set a keyframe there, and then I'm going to set that the value to 0. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a keyframe and set that to 100. And I've sped this up a bit, but what I was doing was just copying and pasting frames, so the top value is 100 and the bottom value is 0. Then I'm just going to scale this. So now when I play that through, you can see it's bouncing away. And that's how you can animate after you've already parented. So thank you for watching this tutorial, and if you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment, and I'll be making another tutorial on locks with models in the second part. Thank you.